Next on Currents News, the search for answers after the gruesome murder of a Washington Post journalist is reportedly caught on camera. President Trump says if there's a tape, he wants to see it. Going to pot. Canada has legalized recreational marijuana and it's raising concerns. Pope Francis and Imam Al-Azhar, the Holy Father, meeting with the world's top Sunni Muslim leader at the Vatican. Plus performances, speeches, and big donations at the annual Futures in Education dinner. The news starts right now.
We have asked for it. If it exists, we have asked for it.
President Trump says if there's a tape, he wants to see it. Good evening, everyone. I'm Liz Faublas. The president's statement coming after Turkish media reported that the gruesome killing of Saudi journalist Jamal Khashoggi was recorded. Khashoggi was a Washington Post contributor living in the U.S. who criticized the Saudi crown prince. Meanwhile, Secretary Mike Pompeo met with Turkish President Erdogan today. Natasha Chen has the very latest.
Turkey claims to have an audio recording from within the Saudi consulate proving that Saudi journalist and Washington Post columnist Jamal Khashoggi was killed.
I'm not sure yet that it exists. Probably does, possibly does. I'll have a full report on that from Mike when he comes back.
Secretary of State Mike Pompeo met with Turkish President Erdogan Wednesday. He also met with the Saudi Crown Prince on Tuesday, saying afterward that the U.S. would give space to Turkey and Saudi Arabia to complete their investigation.
We need to know the facts before we can begin to formulate what the appropriate response for this would be. I do think it's important that everyone keep in their mind that we have lots of important financial relationships between U.S. and Saudi companies.
Relationships that President Trump praised during Wednesday's cabinet meeting.
They're a tremendous purchaser of not only military equipment, but other things. When I went there, they committed to purchase $450 billion worth of things and $110 billion worth of military. Those are the biggest orders in the history of this country.
Turkish officials said Khashoggi's body was dismembered after his death and that a fresh coat of paint was applied everywhere inside the Saudi consulate in Istanbul before the Turkish investigators gained access to the building Monday evening.
I want to find out what happened, where is the fault, and we will probably know that by the end of the week.
In Washington, Natasha Chen, Currents News.
A mass shooting at a college in Crimea has left 17 people dead and wounded 40 people. Russian investigators say a student ran through the college shooting classmates before killing himself. Officials say it appears he also set off an explosion. A second device was found in his personal belongings. The massacre is not being classified as terrorism. Today, Canada became the first major world economy to legalize possession and use of recreational marijuana. Pot use has been illegal in Canada for the last 95 years. John Lawrence reports about the countdown to cannabis.
2, 1.
And with that countdown, it was official.
Here's your receipt. The first legal receipt issued in Canada.
Canada goes green, as in pot.
The way Starbucks is kind of dominating the coffee business throughout North America, the retailers want to do the same kind of thing in the cannabis space.
The U.S.'s northern neighbor is now the second country after Uruguay to legalize and regulate marijuana. Canada is also the first G7 nation to make this move. Officials there, including Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, say legal marijuana will reduce related crimes and keep profits away from crime organizations. Retailers are ready.
We're going to have to keep opening stores. So as soon as we finish the first batch, we're going to move on to the second and the third and the fourth.
And they're hoping for sky-high sales.
I think that we have enough information now, certainly from other jurisdictions that have legalized, like Colorado or Washington, where the demographics are fairly similar, that we have some confidence that this is going to translate.
As for the U.S., 9 states and the District of Columbia allow recreational pot use. 30 states permit medical marijuana. John Lawrence, Currents News.
There are concerns in Canada over the legalization, like how ready police are to deal with an increase in impaired drivers. While the United States hasn't legalized marijuana as a country, many states have, Colorado being the first in 2012. And research points to some interesting findings. In 2014, a study reported that there was a 92% increase in marijuana-related traffic accidents. Recreational marijuana was also decriminalized in Washington state in 2012. Since then, according to one study there, fatal crashes of drivers who recently smoked doubled. The Bishop of Brooklyn, Nicholas DiMarzio, addressed the legalization of recreational marijuana when he sat down with Ed Wilkinson back in June.
I just don't see the purpose of it. I think it's bad. It's a gateway drug, leads to further drug abuse. We're giving in to people. We're not trying to help them recuperate themselves, rehabilitate themselves. This is the wrong approach.
Bishop DiMarzio also clarified medically prescribed marijuana could be helpful. Bishop DiMarzio also addressed the issue at length in one of his columns, Put Out into the Deep. To read it, go to thetablet.org/marijuana-is-dangerous. Pope Francis met again with Egypt's highest Islamic authority at the Vatican. It's the fourth time the Holy Father has embraced Al-Azhar, the world's top Sunni Muslim leader and head of Egypt's prestigious 1,000-year-old mosque. Sean Richardson reports.
It is one more embrace between the two old acquaintances, Pope Francis and the great Imam Al-Azhar, rector of the University of Al-Azhar Ahmed Al-Tayyib. It is one of the main universities for the Sunni Muslim world. Both had a brief meeting at the Casa Santa Marta. This is the fourth time they have met since 2006, when Imam resumed relations with the Vatican, broken since 2011. Imam Al-Azhar and the Pope share common interests such as interreligious dialogue and the promotion of peace. After the brief exchange of gifts, Pope Francis bid farewell to Imam amid smiles and laughter. In Rome, Sean Richardson, Currents News.
A former Pennsylvania priest has pled guilty to corruption of minors and child endangerment. David Paulson is one of two priests charged as a result of the Pennsylvania grand jury probe into abuses against minors committed by Roman Catholic clergy. According to authorities, he took two victims to his secluded hunting camp about a decade ago and abused them there. Paulson will likely have to register as a sex offender. Sentencing has not been scheduled. A group of more than 1,000 migrants are walking from Honduras to the U.S.-Mexico border with hopes of entering the United States. President Donald Trump, however, is making it clear undocumented immigrants will not be allowed to enter. Trump informed the governments of Honduras, Guatemala, and El Salvador that if the migrants are not stopped, he would cut United States aid to their countries. The Central American refugees say they are fleeing violence and poverty in Honduras and seeking a better life. There's a lot more news headed your way. The Futures in Education fundraiser raised big bucks for Catholic school education in Brooklyn and Queens. Find out just how much next. Then an up-close and personal look at the new editor-in-chief of publications at DeSales Media Group. Jorge Dominguez is at the helm of the Tablet and Nuestra Voz, and I'll talk to him about his new assignment. And later, a polio-like illness is affecting kids across the country, and tonight it continues to spread. The story of one little guy who beat the odds. And do you have a story idea or something special happening in your parish we definitely should know about? Don't keep it a secret. We want to hear from you. Email us at newstips@thesalesmedia.org. We'll be right back. The Catholic schools of Brooklyn and Queens got a big boost during last night's Futures in Education fundraiser. Guests packed into the famed Cipriani's on Wall Street for an evening of entertainment and good food. Soon, generous donations started to pour in, over $2 million worth. Bishop Nicholas DiMarzio attended the event.
I think a Catholic education is one of the best that anybody can receive because it's high academic standards, but there's also many values that are inculcated to a child, and it gives them the Catholic faith. So I think that's the best education I could think of.
The mission of Futures in Education is to ensure that Catholic education continues to be a viable option for current and future generations of students throughout Brooklyn and Queens.
It's very special tonight because really we're reliving the past. Our parents and grandparents came here as immigrants. They had nothing. The church was there to educate them, and many of them are successful today. And now we have so many new immigrants from different parts of the world, but they deserve that education, that same chance that our parents got.
There are currently 86 Catholic schools and academies throughout Brooklyn and Queens that are benefiting from these donations. In other big diocesan news, the Tablet has a new editor-in-chief. Jorge Dominguez succeeded longtime editor Ed Wilkinson last month to take the helm of the newspaper. And while Jorge is new to the Tablet, he is no stranger to the Diocese of Brooklyn. Currents News' Tim Harfman has more.
In 110 years, the Diocese of Brooklyn's Tablet newspaper has never missed an issue, and Jorge Dominguez says it never will. He is the Catholic newspaper's new editor-in-chief and the first Hispanic to take on the responsibility.
It is a big responsibility, first and foremost. It is very challenging, of course, but at the same time very exciting.
Jorge's no stranger to Catholic reporting. A native of Cuba, he started a religious magazine as a teenager, and later a newspaper for the Archdiocese of Havana. He continued writing for Catholic media outlets after migrating to the United States in 1992. For the past 3 years, Jorge has served as editor of Nuestra Voz, the Spanish newspaper of the Brooklyn Diocese, and was named Editor of the Year by the Catholic Press Association.
This is the issue of the week.
He reports to Vito Formica, Executive Director of News Content and Development for the Sales Media Group.
He's just going to bring a lot of knowledge and experience and quality journalism to the Tablet, and we're already seeing it in the issues that are coming out.
The Tablet newspaper prints nearly 70,000 copies every week and is distributed throughout 45 states. The paper's editor emeritus, Ed Wilkinson, was at the helm for over 3 decades. He gives Jorge his blessing.
I think Jorge's a great guy. He really he loves the church, he loves the diocese, he's very knowledgeable about the church, so I was really thrilled when I found out he was going to be my successor.
They're big shoes to fill, but Jorge is up for the challenge.
The paper became the true reflection of the life of the Diocese of Brooklyn and Queens, of course. We have to keep that.
Ed gave Jorge the same advice he received when he took over the paper in 1985. Go with your gut.
The paper's going to change. You're going to have to take it in a new direction. Don't be afraid to go in a new direction. It's not going to be the way it used to be, so don't worry about trying to make it what it used to be.
Jorge already has plans to evolve the Tablet, growing it digitally.
We can bring back that legacy of being a paper that is not just for Brooklyn and Queens, because now we have a growing presence in the internet.
A way for Catholics to learn about their faith in print or on the web. Tim Harfman, Currents News.
And I am pleased now to be joined by my colleague, Jorge Dominguez. Jorge, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Liz.
Obviously, you and I have worked together extensively, especially during live coverage, and I'm always impressed by your insight and your knowledge. So this is even a bigger honor for me just to talk to you about this new role. You've been working at this diligently for a few weeks now. What's the experience been like for you?
It is very exciting, but at the same time, sometimes it feels like a marathon.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a great effort, but at the same time, you have a lot of hands giving you water and support.
Yeah.
So that's for me the main experience is the support that I have received during these first weeks that I have been. I mean, it has been tough.
We do have a good team here. As we just heard in Tim's package, part of your vision for the Tablet is to extend its digital platform. Now that's a big job. How do you plan on doing that?
Well, with good content, of course, but the thing is, the tablet for a long time during the 20s and the 30s and the 40s, the tablet was like the paper of record in the Catholic Church in the United States. And during the 50s, a lot of dioceses got newspapers, and you know, there was a division there. Today, with the internet, we have the opportunity to recover that legacy and to reach a lot of people. And you do it with interesting content, relevant content. In what sense? Content that is local, but it's relevant to a lot of people, and content that is, you know, the international news or the church news in Rome that you bring to the people in Brooklyn. So relevant, important, high-quality content.
Let's talk about that relevant, important, high-quality content. Let's talk about this week's paper with regard to that. What are the highlights?
Well, the highlight, of course, is the canonization of the 7 new saints, but 2 of them in particular. Of course, well, Pope Paul VI and Archbishop Romero from El Salvador. They are very, very important figures in the life of Pope Francis. So they say that is the most personal canonizations that he will ever do. In that sense, it's a very, very interesting story.
Now, here's the thing with this paper, especially this edition. The canonization itself was simply just one aspect of it. Without giving too much away, what other perspectives did you approach?
Well, yes, we have all the details about the canonization, but also, as you're mentioning, the relationship between these 2 saints and Pope Francis, and the background of those 2 saints. Because a lot of times with history, we forget the origin, how they became the important figures they were, and people misunderstand and don't know all the details. Well, you're going to have all the details, all the interesting details in the paper this week.
All right, Jorge, thank you so much. I certainly look forward to reading it, and I'm sure that our readers do as well. Welcome aboard, sir, in your new capacity.
Thank you, Liz.
Very good working with you, as always. Supporting the tablet ensures that Catholic journalism will thrive well into the future. These are stories that oftentimes cannot be found anywhere else. Subscribe to the tablet right now and save up to 55%. Go to the website, thetablet.org/home55, or call 877-883-8356. Almost half of babies in the United States are born to parents who are not married. According to a new report from the United Nations, 40% of all births in the U.S. happen outside of wedlock. That's a 10% increase in nearly 50 years. Now, research links the change to the secularization of America and a shift in societal norms. A rare disease being compared to polio is affecting children across the country. It's called acute flaccid myelitis, and it's now been reported in at least 22 states. One family is sharing the story of their son's road to recovery. Julie Lansich has details.
It was a normal pregnancy, and he was developing normally. He was ahead of the curve. I mean, he was just standing, cruising the night before.
The next morning, Noah was paralyzed. Elisa and Mitch Holt raced their 6-month-old baby to the ER. Later that day, doctors at Boston's Children's Hospital would give them the diagnosis, AFM, acute flaccid myelitis, a 1 in a million diagnosis, a polio-like disorder that affects the nervous system.
There are a lot of parents who got turned away from hospitals and ERs, and who doctors dismissed the symptoms. And the longer you go without treatment, the worse this disorder is going to be.
That was 4 years ago. And this is Noah now.
Noah is the hardest working kid around. He's happy, he's smiling, he's got such a positive attitude.
The full of personality 4-year-old brings that smile to hours of physical therapy every week. He can now use his walker on his own and balance himself. And his parents fully believe he will walk again someday.
And he's definitely our inspiration to keep going and push through.
That means raising awareness and money, and allowing other families a glimpse into their lives to see just how far Noah has come.
There is so much hope. We are committed to making a difference. We're committed to finding out what causes this.
That was Julie Lansich reporting. There is currently no vaccine available for this disease, and the cause is still unclear. Experts say it could be viral, environmental, or genetic. Still to come on Currents News, mid-air scare. A plane carrying First Lady Melania Trump forced to make an emergency landing. Rock on, sisters, the video that's going viral when Currents News returns. A plane carrying First Lady Melania Trump was forced to make an emergency landing after the cabin filled with smoke. All aboard were given wet towels to cover their faces if the smell became too strong. Officials say it was due to a minor mechanical issue. Mrs. Trump did fly out shortly after she landed safely in Philadelphia, where she met with families hit by opioid abuse. Pope Francis used his address to the General Assembly this morning to warn pilgrims about the fifth commandment, "Thou shalt not kill." Melissa Butts has that report.
Pope Francis continued explaining the meaning of the fifth commandment. He said it has a greater depth than it appears at first glance. He pointed out that insulting, contempt, and indifference are other ways of killing.
Gesù le mette sulla linea dell'uccisione. Siamo abituati a insultare, è vero. Ci viene un insulto come se fosse un respiro. E Gesù ci dice fermati, perché l'insulto fa male, uccide.
The Pope stressed the importance of empathy, of putting oneself in the shoes of others, to know what hurts them.
Per ferire una donna può bastare un gesto di freddezza. Per spezzare il cuore di un giovane è sufficiente negargli la fiducia. Per annientare un uomo basta ignorarlo. L'indifferenza uccide. È come dire all'altra persona: tu sei un morto per me, perché tu l'hai ucciso nel tuo cuore.
Have empathy and take initiative. Pope Francis said it's wrong to be content to do nothing wrong. It's the deception of someone who, in reality, does not want to do anything. People, he said, are not like a mineral or a plant. They are asked much more of their life. In Rome, Melissa Butts, Currents News.
For those who didn't know, sisters can rock out to some tunes too. This video went viral, and rightfully so, as hundreds of nuns seem to be having the time of their lives dancing along to the music at an outdoor concert in Krakow, Poland. The video has more than 1 million views. The Mega Millions lottery has a new jackpot prize. There was no winner in last night's drawing, bringing the new prize pot to $900 million, the second largest payout in U.S. lottery history. The winning numbers will be drawn on Friday, so keep your tickets handy. You could be one of the lucky ones. That is Currents News. I'm Liz Faublas. Thank you so much for joining us, because we are putting your faith in the news. I hope to see you again next time.